My name is Chuck. I've spent over $40 million in social media ad spend, and today we're going to be talking about how Shopify brands are brainwashed into wasting ad spend and what to do instead. So if you're a Shopify brand owner, you've probably put a lot of research into setting up your store, figuring out how to run ads, and there's just a lot of misinformation out there. We're going to debunk today and go over. Let's get started. Just to give an overview of what these traps are. Trap 1 is top of funnel worship. So this is pretty much worrying too much about reach, video views, impressions, CPM. A majority of awareness impressions, which we'll actually uncover as we get into it, are actually not viewable. So a lot of the impressions actually don't even show and are counted as impressions. We'll talk more on that in a second. Trap 2 is focusing on only one product. Selling one product leaves no room for upsells or retention of buyers, especially when the product has a long lifespan. Trap 3, instant results and need to be profitable right away. We will really dig into this one. Trap 4, platform hopping. Doing too many platforms with too little budget all at once. Trap 5 is no lifetime value plan. So no path for maximizing lifetime value or customer loyalty. Trap number 6 is percent off discounts. Upsell, don't downsell. Trap 7 is over optimization. Too frequent changes in your ad campaigns or to your website. You're not going to actually know what's working. And trap number 8 is vanity metrics. Focusing on the wrong KPIs can really kill you. So we're going to debunk all these things and give you exactly what you should be doing to absolutely blow the conversion rate of your Shopify store out of the water and improve your meta ads, improve your ROAS. This is exactly what I do for all of my clients. This is exactly the process that I take, and you're going to go through it with me today, step by step. So let's get over to trap number 1. Top of funnel worship is what I'm calling this. It's just having too much of a focus on top level metrics like impressions, reach, views, clicks. These are all essentially meaningless to your end result because these are all very heavily influenced by delivery of the ad platform. But what I really want to hone in on here is what actually makes an impression. So what does make an impression? Well, if you go into the Instagram and Facebook terms of service on their website, they define exactly what an ad impression is measured as on each platform. For ad impressions displayed on Instagram feed and stories, an ad impression is counted the instant any part of the ad appears on the user's screen, greater than 0 pixels and greater than 0 seconds. Do you know how small a pixel is? An impression can be counted without you even realizing what the ad is about. You could see the corner of the screen of the ad, the topmost corner, and it could be counted as an impression. Now let's read Facebook. For ad impressions displayed on Facebook feed and RHC across both desktop and mobile platforms, an ad impression is counted the instant any part of the ad appears on screen, greater than 0 pixels and greater than 0 seconds. Same thing. There was also a study done on the overall viewability. Viewability means that the ad is showing 50% or more. At least 50% of the ad is shown for it to be considered viewable. A study was done on this for how much impressions on Facebook and Instagram are actually viewable. Beyond just that definition that Facebook and Instagram have, what's actually viewable to this 50% benchmark, okay? And what they found, when we analyzed over 1 billion ad impressions, we learned that it's worse than we thought. Only 11% of ad impressions delivered in the newsfeed were viewable, meaning over 50% of the actual ad was showing. With choosing your campaign objectives, the platform knows who's most likely to buy and who's most likely to complete the action that you're going after. And they assign a CPM on that basis based on the relevance of your end result of your campaign and what your goals are. If you want impressions, it will show impressions. If you want clicks, if you want landing page views, it will show to people who are most likely to click and to people who are most likely to go onto your site. If you want ads to cart, it will show to people who are most inclined to add to cart on your website. If you want purchases, it will of course show to people who are most inclined to purchase, the lowest funnel buyers that they have on hand to be serving impressions for your ads. And they assign CPMs based on the basis of all of these results. So they upcharge, they assign a higher CPM to people that they know are more likely to purchase. and they assign a lower CPM to impressions where they just need to fill the inventory on their platform. So when you're scrolling on your newsfeed, Facebook and Instagram know which impressions are more likely to deliver a sale and which impressions are they just need to fill for brand awareness. And that is what gets filled by awareness campaigns. And that is why the viewability is so low on a lot of these ads. Because it knows that if someone's scrolling and it's the 5th ad down, they're more likely to be bouncing off Facebook or Instagram than they are for the first ad slot that's shown on your newsfeed. And those first or second ad slots, or ones after you've engaged highly with a post before that, you're more likely to keep scrolling and stay on the platform. They're more likely to show you sales-based objective ads there. And if they're just see you mindlessly scrolling, you're not really paying attention to what's in between. You maybe have a higher scroll speed, or you aren't engaged on the platform, or you've just been scrolling for a really long time. These are the impressions that are most likely going to be filled by brand awareness impressions, meaning that they could very well not show, and probably a high percentage of them will not even show. Under 50%, if any, if at all, to be counting as the impression. This is a huge, huge thing that so many brands miss out on, because you run these awareness campaigns and you just wonder why you're not getting results. And the lazy thing that they do is just divert it back to building brand awareness. You're not. If your viewability is 11%, 11% of those ads are only getting served over 50%, what kind of brand awareness is that building? So calculate the cost of that compared to just running lower funnel objectives or running mid funnel objectives, where you're just looking to get people to click onto your site or to buy your product or to engage with your product or your site. Compare that CPM difference and that cost difference to those ads, and you will probably see that it's actually probably more cost effective to run the ads with the higher quality signals to the higher quality buyers. Because if you're just going to listen to Meta, they're going to just tell you to run a full funnel, run awareness, or you're listening to some media buyer or some big agency, they're going to tell you to run brand awareness campaigns, whatever. You have to know, and that's okay. It's good to run full funnel. You should run full funnel in some form. To be a successful marketer, you do have to find where these CPM differences are and this arbitrage opportunities are. That's part of being a media buyer. But to think that you're going to be getting results with brand awareness objectives, reach, impressions, views, whatever it is, to think that you're going to be getting results with that, even traffic, to think you're going to be getting results with that is deranged. You're just not. You have to understand the intent that you're optimizing for. And this is why so many Shopify store owners that are new to ads, this is why so many people that are new to ads, so many businesses get misled by running these full funnel objectives, because they think that it's just part of being a good marketer, but they don't understand the intent that they're actually optimizing for with their objectives. I'm not saying not to run awareness campaigns, but I am saying to optimize your dollars to the intent that your campaigns are optimizing for. And from there, you can calculate the results of your campaigns and you can better optimize and better deliver your ads. It is not about CPM. It is not about impressions. It's not about reach. It is about the intent of the impression that's being served. This is a really, really important thing. And I just think it's number one for all marketers. It's just insane. So please, I implore you, choose your objectives wisely. Be careful who you listen to. Going over to trap number 2, having only one product on your site. Selling one product leaves no room for upsells or retention of buyers, especially when the product has a long lifespan. So if someone's only buying your product one time and the life cycle for your product before it even goes out is 5 years, you're not making another sale or another dollar off of that person for 5 years. And then you have to resell them again on the second time around. Only having one product, it forces you to be profitable on every single sale of that one product, or you're going out of business. What you need to do is you need to build an ecosystem around your product, whether that's through strategic upsells, whether that's through complementary products, whether that's through a product cycle where once people are hooked on your main product, you're introducing new products, or whether that's accessories, refillables, whatever it is, something that is consumable around your product, something that people can buy again. And that is where this comes in. So the issue with having only one product, there's no follow-up. Your lifetime value is equal to the life cycle of one product. And if the product lasts 5 years, that's the only sale you make, then you need to resell the customer on the way back, because they're going to now, after your product is worn out and they're going through that next cycle of buying next product, that make that next sale, you're going to have to recompete with all the competitors that have new products out, that have different offerings, and then resell the customer on buying your product again. That's so much work, that's so much cost, and that's so much drop off that is going to be incurred. All right. So what you should do is build customer retention and loyalty. How do you do that? Well, let's go through the journey. You have the competition of everyone else in the market versus you, and you're able to differentiate yourself. The consumer chooses your product. They choose your product, they buy your product. Now from there, you build out this life cycle. You build out this ecosystem around your product. So they buy your product, you have accessories, refillables, you have anything that they can just buy that's an extension of your product. Say for a water filter, they have the filters that you have to buy. Whatever that is with your product, there's other things that directly are part of that product that maybe are consumable that they have to buy again, refillable, whatever it is. But then from there, you maybe have a complementary product. That's the next logical step in the chain. So, hey, you like this product, now buy this one. And then from there, there's another complementary product. You like these products, let's buy this one. A great example is Apple with the iPhone upselling you on iCloud storage. You build a need for that product. And that also goes into the new product aspect too, is them building out these services, part of their business. So now you buy an iPhone, you need the next iPhone the next year, the next one the next year. Or you buy an iPhone, you need AirPods, you now need accessories, you need a charger, you need anything else, a case, whatever else around the iPhone. Then you buy AirPods, then you buy Beats, whatever it is, complements the main product. Now they introduce a new product. Now they upsell iCloud storage. Next thing you know, more iCloud storage. Whatever else it is, they're just upselling you on things and they're building this ecosystem around you. Apple's an amazing example of this, but it can be applied to so many things. Well, the complementary products fill the gap of the life cycle of your main product. So by the time that life cycle of your main product is up, now they're more primed to buy your main product again because they've had different points of engagement with your brand. They're more familiar with you and they're more inclined to buy your product again. And then they're introduced to your new products, your new offerings. They're already sold on your main product because they've had so much engagement with your brand. They've built trust. They've recommended you to people. Whatever it is, they've had so many different points of engagement. And that is exactly what you want. You want to be building customer retention and customer loyalty. Now, trap number 3, instant results. A need to be profitable right away. This is a huge mistake that people make in their ads because they think that they're just going to launch Ads Manager and become profitable the next day. That's not how it works. For most people, some brands get lucky, but it comes down to the story that they build around the brand. It's really not luck. It's how they're hitting these 3 different levels that I'm about to go into. What this consists of is you have 3 different levels. You have your aware level, you have your educational level, consideration people will call this, and then you have your conversion level, which is where they become a buyer. Now, in that awareness level, you're building brand. They're just finding out that the product exists, realizing that you're out there, that you are part of the competition, that your product is out there. They're just a general awareness of your product, like, oh, I know that this company does that and has this product. All right. Then from that next level down, you're building education, which is building differentiation, unique selling proposition, and why are you the choice for the consumer. You're just building all these different things and giving so much context to your product. You're building out the story behind your product and telling them why you're the choice and why they should buy your product. And then you have that final phase, which is the buy phase. So maybe they're in a certain setting, they see a certain ad. This is where they've built multiple points of engagement with you and they're ready to become a buyer. All right, so these are the 3 basic levels. And it's not a funnel, and I didn't do it like a funnel because it's more like a circle. You're going around and around where you're just aware about a product and then you learn a little bit more about the product and you start to build engagement with that product or brand, and then you become a buyer. And whatever it is in that educational phase or consideration phase, whatever you're doing, you can have multiple points of engagement before you actually become a buyer. And that's why I built it like this rather than a funnel like you see in standard marketing practices. So just to recap on that, if you cannot build at each level, you will not see results. The end result is affected by how well you do each of these 3 things or build each of these levels. The more time it takes for each phase in your vertical, the longer it will take to see results. So it doesn't have to take years to build brand, education, or whatever. You can do this essentially all in one ad if you really wanted to. But how effective that would be on the lifetime value of your customer, I don't know. But you can essentially build this in one campaign. Now, exactly how you do that is going to depend solely on your brand and your product and everything. The quickest way to see results is to account for each step of the process, make educated projections, and then execute. You want to account for the fact that you have to build brand, that you have to build education, that you have to build your awareness, that people have to know about you before your dollars are even converting directly. All right? And then you have to project based on this. Overall, if you have less brand awareness, you'll have a higher percent of marketing sales come from completely cold or new customers, and that leads you to a higher average cost. If you have more brand awareness, you have a lower percent of marketing sales that will come from new or cold customers, and you have a lower average cost because it is cheaper to be reaching people who are already brand aware. And on that point, retargeting. Retargeting can be up to 8 times cheaper, significantly cheaper to retarget. Your only bottleneck is the size of your retargeting pool. And this is why so many big brands can get a higher ROAS than smaller brands. So when you hear of these big brand campaigns getting 10x ROAS, it's because they already have this huge pool of people that are brand aware and know about their product. It's easier to sell to them. One compelling ad can be the difference maker in them just buying. So this is why so many big brands have a higher ROAS than smaller ones, because the smaller ones have to build and they have such a higher hill to climb in building that brand, building awareness, building education. And there's a much bigger pool of brand aware people for a bigger brand. Trap number 4, platform hopping. Doing too much with too little. So too many small brands think that they need to be everywhere. And while I'm a big fan of building out a holistic marketing plan and building out completely, you have to understand that you need to dominate one platform and become really good at it to really see the conversions if you're doing full funnel, if you're targeting every objective. So what I've learned is test multiple platforms, figure out which one is your strongest platform, dominate that platform, and then expand. After you've dominated one platform, expand to a second, and then expand from there. Dominate that next platform. So you have 2 platforms that you're dominating, expand to a third. But test, dominate, expand. Test, find what works, dominate the one that works, expand into another one that might potentially work for you. If you're wondering how much budget you need to run on each platform, generally what is recommended is per 7 days, taking your cost per result, multiplying it by 50, because on Meta, most of the platform algorithms for social platforms need about 50 conversions within a 7-day period to be properly out of their learning phase and properly optimizing. And then what you do is you multiply that number by 1.5 as a buffer, because you need to account for the fact that it's going to optimize. It's probably going to start off at a higher cost and then come down as it gets more data on your campaign. Now, this might seem a lot when you start factoring in purchase objectives, but these are things that you have to account for, and you have to take it with a grain of salt when you're looking at results that are not stat sig from this point of view. All right, trap 5, no lifetime value path. So no path for maximizing lifetime value or loyalty. This is similar to trap number 2, except it's focused on value over time. It's not necessarily focused on the life cycle that you're building out around your products. This is just strictly maximizing for dollar value and time value and frequency of buying. All right. So from their first purchase to the end of the customer lifespan, what are you doing in that for them to acquire the customer? And then what are you doing to maximize and have them purchase something that's of a higher value and then the highest value? How are you progressing their journey? This can either be straight up dollar value per order and just having it be a bigger dollar value per order, or this could be frequency of buying. So they buy one product one time, 6 months later, within a 3-month span, they're buying 2 times. And then after that, they're buying every month, depending on the need that you're building out for your product or what consumables you have or whatever it is. Whatever the life cycle is, you could do it by dollar amount or by frequency. And just to recap, there's 2 ways. You could buy higher priced items and services over time, or they could buy more frequently over time, which is just what I said, price and frequency. How do you do this? Loyalty and dependency. You want to build loyalty for your brand. You want to have a good experience around your brand so that you're building loyalty, that they respect you, they're loyal to your brand, they know that you're better than your competitors. And dependency. Because you do what you do so well, you want to build dependency on that. You want them to be coming to you and needing to come to you, wanting to come to you, or just wanting to come to you so bad that they need it. Building dependency around your product or service. Now, what impacts this? It's customer experiences, it's perceived value, and the angle that you take in the perceived value of your product or service and what it does for them. So if you market it and how it's valuable for the consumer, that will be much better than just marketing it as something that's priced better than competitors. And then how often your brand appears in front of them. Staying present is also a big key in this too. Just like the previous diagram that I showed that having multiple products that you're offering within that lifetime value cycle, they're more likely to buy from you again because they're more familiar with your brand now over time than just buying your product one time, waiting 5 years, and then having to come back to it where now you have to compete with everyone that's out there on the market again. You're building more touch points along the way. They're more likely to buy from you when they do come back to that next cycle. Trap number 6, % off discounts. You want to upsell. Don't downsell or you'll attract low value customers. This is all about price sensitivity. If you only do % off discounts, you're attracting price sensitivity because people will be expecting that % off discount the next time, or they might be only buying because it's a % off discount. So with % off, the buyer expects a discount in the future. This is price sensitivity. Now, if you do it with a gift, upsell, minimum order value, anything that's of the similar, the buyer has to increase their order value to get the discount. The original product retains its full value. This is training your buyer to spend more. This is what you want to do. You don't want to attract a price-sensitive customer that's only looking for a discount. You want to position your discounts in a way that retains that original order value and upsells them to have to spend more in order to get that deal. Trap 7, over-optimization. Making changes too frequently to your campaigns, to your product, to your store. Making changes too frequently and not allowing the proper amount of time to go by or getting the proper amount of data to get a good read on that change. So you need to allow adequate time after making a change to see the effect. With too many changes at once, you'll never know what was actually effective. With too frequent changes, you don't allow time for the buyer psychology, and for ads, the system does not have time to process. With not enough data for each change, you risk inaccurate data skewed by a few outliers. So if you're only looking at 50 people visiting your page, 5 people within that go and buy are skewing your conversion rate a lot more than 5 people going to buy or 5 extra people going to buy out of 1,000 people. You see what I'm getting at here? You want to look at the volume of your data because this will show you how much it can be skewed by a couple outliers, and the more volume you have, the more reliable your data will be. And this goes into statistical significance. Statistical significance is the determination that an observed result in a study is unlikely to have occurred purely by chance, suggesting a real effect or relationship exists. It's important to be thinking in statistically significant terms. If you have an A/B test and the results of that 2 A/B test, you want to look at the statistical significance and the difference between those results from that A/B test. If they're too similar, it's not statistically significant enough to have a clear determination. Similar with when you're looking at results, if you don't have a lot of impressions, you don't have a lot of conversions, it's not really statistically significant to be looking at that. So just some rough statistical significant things. In Meta, the 50 conversion over 7-day rule, like I talked about earlier, this is just for platform learnings. And I think this is even more important now as they're relying much more heavier on their algorithm and their platform. That 50 conversion rule is going to be much, much more important, and you need to be sticking to that. In the past, it maybe might not have been as much so, but now, especially when they're putting all the weight on signals and signal quality, conversion quality, that 50 conversion rule is going to be pretty important. Next is another thing that you can do is for level of spend. Before you maybe cut an ad to a product, is having the ad spend 3 times the cost to acquire the customer. So if your CAC is $100 and the ad spend $300 and it hasn't gotten any results, you might want to look at potentially cutting that ad. That could be a starting point. Again, I think it depends on the context of how you're advertising and what you're going after and everything else around it. But just a general rule, if it's spending about 3 times CAC minimum, anything over that could be your point of statistical significance with the impact of that ad. And then at least 7 days time. You want to give at least 7 days to allow the platform to be adjusting, to be properly serving impressions, because there's impression density, so in one day, and then there's impression distribution over time. So day over day, it's going to be much more reliable than just looking at results from one day. So looking at the past 7 days and results in the past 7 days is going to give you a much better read, a much more accurate read and reliable read than just looking at results from one day. Results from one day will kill you. Do not look at your results day to day. Look at them in 7-day windows, 14-day windows, 30-day windows, quarterly, yearly. Look at it in that manner, then just looking day to day. Day to day will kill you. And then you want to look at data relationships. You want to look at how volume relates to CPM, relates to cost per result, and then relates to result rate. So an example of this, if you have a high CPM, but a low cost per result and a high result rate, then you probably have a winning ad or a winning campaign. Now, like I said, because the platform knows and it assigns higher CPMs to people that it knows will probably become an end buyer, your result rate will likely be higher because your CPM goes up, which your cost per result is the differentiating factor now that you would look at. If you have the same cost per result, the same result rate, the same volume, but the CPMs are different, now that is where you could maybe look at relevance, because CPM might be serving on the basis of relevance then. So just for looking at the performance of your ad, of your campaign, whatever it is, you got to understand the relationships. And then as volume goes up, these metrics all become more reliable. As volume goes down, they become less reliable. The relationship of everything matters very much. All right, and last, trap number 8, vanity metrics, focusing on the wrong KPIs. So if your goal is purchases, you want to optimize your strategy to purchases. You don't want to optimize to impressions, reach, whatever it is. That is the wrong thing to be reporting on. Too many focus on CPM, impressions, reach, views, clicks. These are all vanity metrics, meaningless and meant for generic marketers in their monthly reports. They are meant to help inform, not be the guiding numbers for your campaigns and for your success. CPM can inform relevance, impressions and reach can inform significance, views and clicks can inform engagement and shine light on gaps. So what do gaps mean? Maybe from views, for example, if you have a high view rate, but you have a low completion rate, it could shine a light on that your hook was strong, but the remaining part of that video ad was weak. If you have a strong view rate and a low click-through rate, it can shine light on the difference between that view rate to the click-through rate. If you have a high click-through rate but a low conversion rate, it can shine light on maybe an issue on your website. I did a video on this right here. Now, these help inform the end result, because if you're going for purchases, that end result is purchase and metrics around purchase. So purchase, volume, cost per purchase, ROAS, purchase conversion value, average order value, and then the journey along the way. So you have your landing page view rate, you have your add to cart rate, your purchase rate, and then all the metrics in between there, bounce rate and everything else. You have all these metrics from the customer journey that inform and relate to that end result and that end purchase that can help you optimize around that. So all of these metrics help inform the end result, but your end KPI is purchases and revenue-based metrics. That is your ultimate KPI and what you should be optimizing to. Everything else is context. And just to summarize, if you want people to buy, optimize for people buying. So everything you do, from how you set up your website, how you set up your campaigns, the objectives that you choose, how you set up the ads for your objectives, how you set up everything, optimize for people buying. Do everything around that you want to convert more people, if that is your KPI and that is your goal. Stop worrying about how many times your ad is seen. Start worrying about the context it's seen in. Again, viewability is not created equal. Impression distribution is not created equal. Impressions can literally not be seen to be counted as an impression, virtually. Worry about the context that it's seen in. What is the intent behind the buyer? What is the intent behind the impression? Is it serving to the right person at the right time in the right placement? That is where the end objective that you're choosing is going to be really important. And not all impressions and site visitors are equal. Intent is everything. This goes for awareness campaigns, traffic campaigns, conversion campaigns. The impressions for those and the site visitors that come from those are not created equal. The intent is everything. So you want to be optimizing for intent. You don't want to just be serving impressions just to be serving impressions because they might not even be seen. You don't want to be optimizing for site visitors just to optimize the site visitors because you can get wrongful clicks, accidental clicks, bot clicks. You can get people with high bounce rates on your site, irrelevant people landing on your site thinking it's something else. You can get a lot of things that lead to poor intent. You want to be optimizing to people who are going on your site to actually shop for your products. And then once they're on your site, you want to be optimizing for them converting on your products, which a traffic campaign might not be doing that. It might just be getting people to land on your site without getting the proper buy intent. And then that's where you would need a conversion campaign that's optimized to find those people with the right buy intent at the right time and the right placement to be purchasing your product. These help inform that end result. You want to be optimizing to people buying. Again, I'm not saying to be running one campaign. You want to be running a full funnel of objectives, but you want to be smart in how you optimize those objectives and the exact strategies that you use to be doing that. And that is everything. I know that was a lot. Thank you for staying with me that whole time. This was honestly a really fun video for me to do because I just love talking about this stuff. And I think it's really interesting because there's just so many misconceptions out there about just everything with Shopify stores, with running ads around your Shopify store, with new brands, just a lot of generic marketing advice. And I have been there myself. I know that a lot of it can be overwhelming and that it can get really confusing. But there's a lot of information out there and you want to take it with a grain of salt, everything that you see, and you want to build your strategy around your brand based on your brand. So with that said, if you want this done for you, for your Shopify store, this is exactly what I specialize in. My agency will do this done for you approach, manage your ads, get you in the best possible situation for your social media ad spend, and optimize for the best possible Shopify store that you could have. Book a call today to learn more. Thank you again for watching this video, and I hope you were able to learn some stuff and get some new perspective. Appreciate it.